Cool. Okay, we'll continue. So this meetup is organized by two organizations, the Frontend Foxes, formerly known as VueVixens, both in the Spanish chapter and the Irish chapter, and Women Who Code Dublin. Both of these organizations are nonprofit global organizations, and both of them target to provide a safe space for women to build their network, improve their technical skills. Frontend Foxes primarily focuses on the front-end frameworks. Formerly, we were VueVixens, but we've diversified now to other frameworks as well. And Women Who Code in Dublin and globally allows people, well, women to build a network and connections and share their experiences, both from the technical perspective and working in tech. In Ireland, this meetup is run by myself, Vicky, and Christina, who's also around, and Caroline. You'll also see her name popping up in the participants. And in Spain, you'll see Teresa and Chris, who you'll also see as co-hosts, so you know that they're the co-organizers. So just a quick intro. I'll introduce myself and then pass it on to Chris and Teresa. So my name's Irene. In my day job, I work as a product owner at Oliver Wyman, which is a global consulting firm. In my spare time, I try to organize VueVixens Ireland events as a chapter leader and also Women Who Code. I have a Twitter handle, but I'm really bad at tweeting, so sorry if I don't respond. I'll pass it to Chris to introduce herself.
Hello, my name is Christina. I'm a front-end developer 10 years ago. I'm working now at Mercedes-Benz IO, thanks to Mimacom. I work in a full remote position with German and Portuguese people, so I'm really excited about the topic that we are going to talk about today. And I take part in several communities as my co-mate, as a co-chapter leader with Teresa on VueVixens Spain, and as a co-organizer on Vue.js Madrid and Vue Spain. So next, Teresa, could you introduce?
Hello, my name is Teresa and I'm a front-end developer in Kairos. Though my background is on psychology and neuroscience, I changed my career after a bootcamp in Adalab, and I've been co-organizing with Chris VueVixens for almost 2 years, and I'm also part of another project, which is Madrid for Refugees, where I'm part of the teacher board of the coding school. So nice to see you all here for this meetup.
Cool. Thank you. Sorry, my keyboard is really sensitive. So we have 2 panels of speakers today. So we're hoping that it will be an engaging meetup. It's not just talks. It's more of an interview session. So we hope that the audience yourselves will also engage and ask questions and give opinions or share experience. So the first panel will be Ariane Jurado y Ifoma Nwosu. I'm sorry if my pronunciation is not great. We'll be talking more about the working from home well-being and how to manage it, which I think during COVID is probably super topical. And then the second panel would be more focused around work. And we'll have Louise Marillier and Marina Isa talking about their personal experience and both professional, because potentially with working from home, there is more options for people to explore as freelancers that maybe they weren't aware of before that they might want to explore and ask questions. So these would be our 2 panels today. So the agenda, we've just now kicked off our meetup. So we started, now we're doing introductions. And I'm going to hand over now to Teresa for the time to play, where she'll introduce what we're going to do as a bit of an engagement exercise before moving to our first panel. So I'll stop sharing my screen and hand it over to her.
Okay, so let me share my screen. Okay. Can you see the Kahoot webpage, Irene?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, what we're going to do now is we're going to start by playing a little and getting to know you. Okay. So we're going to use Kahoot. So if just for a short survey. So if you haven't used this tool before, what you need to do is to access kahoot.it. Okay. And you will enter the room number that is showing on screen. So let me just do the game pin number. Let me switch this off. Okay. So yeah, so basically if you go to kahoot.it and enter this game pin, you can enter a nickname, but feel free to add an anonymous, non-offensive one, okay? Because we had to use this account and it will show a podium, but we are not interested in on that part. We're only interested in the number of answers per option. So forget about the names for now, okay? And while you all join in, I'm going to explain how it works. Basically, a question will appear on your screen and you may click the answer that is more suitable for your situation. Okay, so you will be needing to see my screen for the question, and then you can click on the option if you're using your phone or your laptop or whatever. There you can click on the option. And only one can be selected. Okay, but in this case, we obviously don't have a correct one because it's just about your opinions. So let's wait a few more seconds and we'll get started. Okay, I think we're good. Any last joiners? Okay, I'm gonna start now. This is about the first panel, which is well-being and remote working. So the first question is just to get to know you. So where are you from? Just so that we have an insight into how many people are from where. So for example, okay, maybe I should leave the music because these online events. Okay, so there's plenty of people from Europe, some from South and North America, and some from Africa. Cool. Okay, let's get to the next one, which is, this is more related to our session here. And we're asking if you've got an office at home. It doesn't have to be just like a separate room, but just a separate space where you can work from without interruptions. It could be shared or not shared, but separate from other places in your house. Okay, so more or less we're even in this question. Okay, so this is gonna be addressed by Ari, so it's good that we've got mixed answers. And the next question is, do you share your apartment with many other people? And here we've included no, because you live on your own, yes, +1, yes, +2, or 3 or more people is who you share your apartment with. So, okay, so most of you share your apartment with one person, okay, and only few with 2 or more than 2. Right. How do you take notes for your part, Anifama? Okay, the next question is, do you respect your work schedule when working from home? And the options are, yes, I do. No, I work fewer hours. Or no, I usually work extra hours. So here we're trying to see if you work less or more than what you used to when you didn't work from home. And we've got, oh, that's cool. We've got plenty of people who do, and that's great. And there's also a lot of people who work extra hours. I think that's a problem, that sometimes we cannot manage time as well as we did when we were at the office. Do you feel like you have suffered burnout from work? And we've got yes, no, or I don't know if you haven't really thought about it. So we've included this option as well. And we've got a sad dog here in the image. Okay, so wow, a lot of you have suffered burnout from work. This is gonna be also interesting. That's quite a different result. It's not even. Do you think your mental health has worsened during this year? And again, we've got an animal, in this case, a cat, because some of you surely love cats. So yes, no, or I don't know. Do you think your mental health has worsened during this year? And yes, okay, so lockdown is really affecting us all, I can see. Maybe this is why you've joined this meetup. Okay, and the last question is, who do you go to when you need emotional and psychological support? And the options are friends, family, or a mental health professional. It could also be the cats, like this cat is going to...
I prefer the dog, as you know.
I know, but some people prefer cats. So.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and normally you go to friends. Okay, family, not so much, and then mental health professional, not. Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing now. Okay, and hang on a minute. Okay, so it seems, yeah, it seems like a lot of you have diverse opinions and in other questions related opinions and regarding this topic, and it's nice to see that that mental health is something that we all care about. And we're going now to hand it to our two speakers who are going to share their views on the issues. Okay, and the first panel is going to be with Ariane Jurado, who is a front-end developer working from home with her 11-year-old son in a shared flat. She's concerned about the ideal conditions of remote work and how to work in the same room where you sleep. And the other speaker is going to be Ifeoma Nwosu, who has worked remotely and experienced burnout. And she is concerned about her productivity, not only in her career, but also in her personal life and how self-care can help us balance our work and psychological well-being. So let's start with you, Ari. Tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, how are you? Well, thank all of you for being here. Well, I'm Ari. I am a nurse and educational psychologist from Venezuela. I've been living here in Madrid for almost 6 years, and I've been working as a front-end developer for almost a year and a half. And as Teresa said, I'm also a single mother for an 11-year-old boy. And yes, I live in a shared apartment, and I will talk to you about it.
Okay, and Ifeoma, can you also tell us a little bit about yourself?
I am Ifeoma. I am a front-end developer. I've been a front-end developer for over a year and a half, and I work remotely. I work remotely some days, and then I work on site some days. But during this period, the pandemic, I have worked fully remotely. So, and I stay in a shared apartment with my family of 4. And so I'm really looking forward to discussing about our well-being and self-care, because it's something I've experienced. Yes, and burnout and productivity. And so, yes, I'll be looking forward to discussing about that.
Okay, so go to the first question. How do you manage a regular day? We can start with Ari, for example.
Okay, well, my regular day is like we wake up and I take my son to the school. Then I start working, and actually, well, maybe I'm getting ahead of this panel, but it's true that during my job, I don't take the free hour to have lunch, for example. Sometimes I work extra hours because for me it's really hard to stop. Um, but I started like for a short time, maybe 1, maybe 2 months. I started going to the gym, and that helped me a lot. And not only for working out and moving myself, and that's healthy, I think, I guess, but it helps me to say, okay, it's time to go. I need to be on time on the game. So I stop, I close my computer, and I go to the game. That's my regular day.
Okay, and how about you, Ifeoma?
Oh, you're mute.
You're on mute.
Yes, you're mute.
I'm going to send you an invite to unmute yourself. Yeah.
So my regular day, I start by, first of all, I'll just wake up and sit in front of my computer and start working. But after some time, like after about weeks of doing that, about a month, I found that wasn't working for me. I wasn't like, I felt clogged. I wasn't working with I wasn't working properly. So what I started, I had to adjust my schedule. So when I wake up in the morning, I walk out, I started practicing yoga and taking it seriously. So I either practice yoga or I do normal workouts. Then I take walks. I take long walks in the morning. Then I come back and have breakfast. I start working. Then I take breaks. Make sure to take breaks while working. Take breaks of 20 minutes or 30, an hour, depending on how much I need before I continue with my day. So I'm sure when I first started working remotely, during this pandemic, I would always work overtime because I noticed it's something a lot of us we go through. We go through like you're not used to regulating your time. I wasn't used to regulating my time and knowing that this is when I should stop. So I made it I made it a thing. I stuck strictly to stopping working by 5 p.m. Anything related to work by 5 p.m. I round it up. I round it up. So that's my day typically. That's how my day is.
Okay, nice. And you talked about time management. So how do you manage to maintain a healthy life-work balance? For example, let's start with Vifilma this time. What's the key to a healthy? Yeah.
So to manage that, I first of all I'll start by saying I'm an introvert. So when working remotely started, I thought, oh yeah, I wouldn't have to go out every day, and so I was happy. I thought it would be something I wouldn't have to. I thought it was something that would be very easy for me, being someone who I do not always crave social stimulation. So I thought it was going to be easy for me. But after some time, I found that just cutting myself up and like regulating myself to just staying in the house was seriously affecting me. So what I started doing, I would I would have to talk with, I got friends, I have my friends, so I try to communicate with them either through WhatsApp or videos, but that isn't always, using like electronics isn't always as effective as physical meetups. And it's not something we had the luxury of during the lockdown. So after the lockdown, I started making sure to take myself, so even if it's just going out for a walk and then interacting with people in spaces I find myself. Yeah, people in spaces I find myself. So currently what I do is I hang out with friends, we go out, and then the lockdown has been relaxed in my part of the world. So I hang out with friends and try to do fun things. And then I started doodling. I started drawing mandalas as a way to enhance my creativity. And then I started reading more to like enhance my creativity and like balance everything out, because I was just strictly sticking to work. So instead of just working and then maybe hanging out, so I introduced socializing and doing things that would enhance my creativity.
Okay, cool. So do you do anything different? Are you any to keep your life work balance?
For me, it's really hard. It's really hard because well, I mentioned before that I go to the gym, but that's not every day. And when I don't want to go to the gym, I just want to take a rest or watch TV. Actually, it's really hard because we do everything in the same space. And when I say everything is everything, we work in the same space, we rest, we watch TV, we eat, we sleep in the same space. So it's really hard to separate work, resting. So as time goes by in this situation, I did some hacks that are really small and really silly, but they're working for me. For example, I mean, I would love to have another room as an office, or the living room to rest and my bedroom to sleep. But well, that's an ideal situation. It's not my reality. So what I'm doing right now, I'm working on my dining table facing to the wall, and I have the sofa and everything else behind my back. So they are not separated, but visually for myself, they are in different moments. So when I'm working, I'm with my computer and my screens, and maybe, well, the window, I can see some birds or, well, pigeons. And then when I want to stop, I just turn myself around, and it's really stupid, but I'm changing everything. So now I'm in the other space when I can rest, I can watch my TV, for example, and I have my computer and everything related to work behind my back. So that's a silly hack, but it's working for me right now. It is something new that I've tried. And well, I have to say also that I have some hobbies, but the thing is, my hobbies are like to do something with clay, polymer clay, or painting some miniatures. But the thing is, I have to do them sitting on the same chair, the same table, and I don't want to. I want to get that table and that chair off my life when I want to do something else. That's why I'm just visually or mentally I'm separating the spaces, and I just go out to the gym or go out to have a walk or go to the sofa with the computer behind my back. That's some hacks.
Okay. You do a lot of things, so cool. Okay, related to the next question is about, would you rather go back to the office than keep the full remote? What do you think? We can start with you, Ari.
Well, I wish I could choose, right? It's true that I'm earning or gaining, I don't know how to say it in English, time, and that means life. I'm less tired. I'm not stuck in traffic or rush hour on the metro. So I'm sleeping more, and I'm less tired, okay? But for myself, having a routine, and a routine I mean like waking up, taking a shower, get dressed, go out, okay? Then at the office, it's time to leave. It's time to leave. So I walked to my watch, and I said, okay, I have to go, I have to leave. So I close my computer, and that gives me some order to my life and to my mind. Follow that routine. And to follow that routine at home, it's really hard because maybe I don't need to take a shower in the morning. I can take a shower at night. I don't have to get dressed. I can just stay with my pajamas or with whatever I can put on. So it's not the same. So that routine of going out to the office, it makes me feel better mentally. But in the other hand, I'm better at home. So I wish I could choose. I wish I could stay here at home and I can decide, okay, today I want to go to the office, and because my coworkers are awesome and I want to talk about them and I want to talk with them, but not every day, and not that every Tuesday I have to go to the office, because in that moment I feel like forced to do the things. So I prefer to stay here at home and then to decide when to go to the office.
Okay, good answer. What about you, Ifeoma? What do you think?
So I have listened to Ariana, and I think I prefer working at home. I prefer working at home remotely because I live in a populated city, and the traffic is always, it can be hectic. Waking up earlier, you have to wake up really early, and then commuting to work. So I have to wake up really early, then commute to work and start working. Then coming back, it's another issue because the traffic, it's always very congested. So, and I don't drive, I use the public transport. So then I would have to use that and start coming home. So I think I prefer working from home. I think the only thing, just like Arena said, is it's structured. When you're working at the office, it's properly structured. You know that this, when you're done at the office, when you shut down your laptop, you know that you are done. That's the only thing. So I think once one is able to hack, or once you're able to hack working, that putting that, staying strictly to that routine, the same way you are able to do that at the office and they're able to do it at home, I think working remotely will be able to work for me. Once I hack that, I'm able to stay strictly, I'm able to know that, oh, this is the time I'm meant to end. But I prefer working remotely. Another thing working remotely has done for me, it has given me enough time to be able to pay attention to my own projects, my own things I do. Because when I was working at the office, by the time I get home, I'll be worn out, I'll be tired. I wouldn't be able to have time to do any other thing. Once I get home, I sleep till the next morning, and that would be it. But working from home, I know that by 5 p.m. I'm done with work. I switch off my laptop, and then I give myself maybe an hour to rest, 2 hours or 30 minutes. Just then I know that I'm switching to my own thing. So I prefer working remotely because it's a lot more flexible. I prefer working remotely.
Okay, so we've seen that space and time is very, very important to keep us focused and to keep the balance we need in our life. So, and we've also talked about a little bit before when we were asking about burnout. So, how do you recognize that you've reached your limit, and how do you cope with that? And yeah, what strategies do you use? For example, Ari.
I don't know if I recognize it.
So yeah, so like, you don't know. You don't know if you recognize.
I don't know if I recognize it. I mean, I feel when my body and my mind says I can't, I follow them and I stop. The thing is, maybe they say that I can't, maybe too late. So I don't know how to manage that. Okay, because when I feel physically that I can't, I just stop. The thing is, maybe I'm pushing myself too hard to get to that point. So I'm trying, and to recognize that point, to stop it before, and to say, okay, we don't have to get to that extreme point. So I'm working on it, actually.
Okay, so Ari doesn't have quite already recognized a little bit before where her limit is. And how about you, Filma? Do you have it more clearer in your head when you've reached your limit?
Is that for me?
Yeah.
Okay, so this period working from home, I experienced burnout, and I didn't even know. What happened was I had to start researching about it to find out the symptoms, and it's easy to miss it. So I just knew I was getting easily distracted, and I was losing focus. Like I'll be walking and then blanking out, or just whenever I'm working, I'm always very, very like focused on what I'm doing. But I started getting distracted easily. I started losing interest in working, and so I had to address it. What happened was I was overstretching myself. I was overworking. I was working overtime. I didn't even realize it because that was before I started sticking strictly to time. It's terribly affected me in the way that it affected my health. So I would, once it was past office hours, I'll still keep on working, sometimes still for about 5 more hours, sometimes 4 more hours. So how I recognize burnout is when I start getting easily distracted. I start losing focus. And I found out if there's an issue in front of me, if I'm having to deal with work or I'm trying to deal with something, and then I can't, after I take the required amount of break I'm meant to take, maybe a few minutes that I know would suffice to fix the issue, and I know I can't, after taking that period of time, I'm still not able to do it. I recognize that, okay, it's time for me to just take a step back. And then, yeah, that's basically what I do. So when I realize it's time that when I'm losing focus and then in working, I know that it's time for me to. And I made my sleep, yes, and my sleep, I experienced burnout in a way that what's the word for my sleeping schedule? Yes, it got interrupted. I started experiencing shorter hours of sleep. So it really, really affected me in that way. So experiencing burnout, I know I lose focus. That's something that stands out majorly for me, losing focus in work and getting easily distracted.
Okay. And related with productivity, we don't talk about it in that moment, so now is the time. How can you prove that you are more or less productive when you are working from home than in the office? Maybe you can start with you, Ifema.
Okay, so how I'm able to prove? Well, I have my colleagues at work. My manager recently pointed out to me how my productivity levels, like about 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, recently pointed out to me how I had improved in several aspects in work. So I think I'm able to use that as a measure. And then also the amount of hours I'm able to sit down and stick to work, what I've been able to achieve, and problem solving. So I know that using those, I'm able to measure how productive I am. Yes, and not getting easily as distracted as I would when I'm at work. So I think.
Okay. Nari, what do you think? How could you prove that you are more or less productive in your job?
Well, I think I'm doing exactly the same. Okay, it's the same work that I'm doing here at home or at the office. I'm a junior, so if I need help, in the same way, I can call a coworker that is in the other desk. I can call him by video call, and I can get the same help, for example, and I don't know how to prove it, like to trust us that we are actually working. But I don't know, maybe with all the work that we do, with all the tasks that we are facing. So I'm actually, I think I'm more productive because I'm doing more hours. That is not good. I know that is wrong for us. And I'm doing more hours not because I think I'm being less productive. It's just because it's really hard to stop. For example, at the office, if I go to have lunch, with the coworkers. So we go out for an hour because we need to eat for an hour. And here at home, I actually don't go out to have lunch, and I don't stop. I just eat next to my computer. That's wrong too. Don't do that at home. Really fast, and I keep working. And then if I am in a task that it is really hard, or I'm having a bug or something, I want to fix it, and it's really hard to stop. So I'm actually working more, but not because I'm being less productive. It's just because I'm working extra hours. Not every day. I'm learning how to avoid doing that, but I don't know how to prove. I don't know for to the bosses or whatever that we are being productive. But the thing is, I think we can do the same job at home that in the office. And as I said, in my case, we need help because we are junior, and if we I don't know, or if we are starting in a new project or in a new job, you need help, but everything you can handle it with video calls. And I think it's the same. I don't see a difference.
Okay, yeah, this is very controversial, because sometimes it's not the hours or the minutes that you're working, but how productive and effective you are. So it's difficult sometimes to prove it. Okay, so we're heading to the next question, which would be the last for this panel, but I encourage all the attendants to ask questions on the Zoom chat, and Irene will be asking them those questions in a minute. So let's go to the last questions that we've got here. What kind of, even though you've already talked about the activities that you do, but what is like your favorite well-being activity that you carry out? You talked about yoga, you talked about mandalas, but I mean, what else do you do? For example, Ifoma.
So my favorite, what I do, I draw, and then I recently made it a thing to make sure I go out weekends to do something fun. Like last week I went to the zoo, so it was something fun to do. So so I draw, and then I also do yoga just because it really helps. And I take long walks in the morning. I take long walks every morning. So that helps to clear my head. Yes. So I do yoga, then I take long walks. Then some days I do just one. I do either yoga or I take long walks. Yes. So that really helps.
And what about you, Ariane?
Well, I go to therapy. I think is very necessary for everyone, and now more. So that's my favorite actually activity in the world. I love going to therapy. And for example, this time of the year, I don't have sunlight in my room, and I miss it, and I did it. So I try to go out to get some sunlight. Sunlight is really, really necessary too. So basically, as I told you, I started going to the gym like 1-2 months before ago. I'm sorry, but before I wasn't doing anything about, like, I don't know, working out or something. And it's really necessary to just to go out home and to change these walls, and just to, yes, to clear your head and to think about something else, and to be some new space. So gym right now for me is not only to work out, but it means to close the computer, to stop working, and to do something else. Because the thing is, I don't only work, but I really like things work related. It's not about the job, but I like to take courses or to do things related to work. So it's not exactly, but it's really kind of the same. So yes, those are my activities.
Okay, so let's hand it to Irene so that she can ask the questions from you, the attendees here.
Cool. Thank you. There's a few questions coming in, so please bear with me as I read them out. Um, so there is a question from Raquel asking, could you share with us an example of a difficult situation that you have to handle during the pandemic lockdown? Which I guess happens over Zoom or video conference, which makes it harder. So if we want to start with you and then go to Ari.
Okay, so an example of a difficult situation, it would be, okay, so I was working on a project and the clients wanted it to be live within the weekend. They wanted it to go live by Monday. And we were still backward at the office. I was the one put in charge of the project and I still had a lot of things to do on it. So there are times stick, I had to work overtime that it was really, really hectic. I had to work overtime that day. So what I did, I complained to my manager. I complained to my manager, who in turn had to tell the project manager to make sure to try and communicate to the clients. He asked them to try. So when it comes to work-related issues, my manager, my line manager helps out because he steps in. He ensures to step in when and then put a hold on, making sure that we are not overworked, making sure that pressure isn't put on us to deliver a project, especially when it wasn't properly communicated, when the deadline or when the project was meant to go live, properly communicated. So I think having colleagues or having a manager having colleagues who are able to like help in issues like this, I think it's very, very important. So helping in managing a difficult situation, I think when your colleagues step in, it becomes easier. So in that case, it was my manager who was able to step in and we had the dates postponed. I had already worked overtime for a day. I worked throughout on a Saturday, which shouldn't be so. So when he stepped in, we were able to shift the dates forward. Had to shift it forward, like change the dates so I didn't have to release it. We didn't have to go live on a Monday. So but I was really stressed out because I didn't sleep. I remember I slept for only about 6 hours that night. So I always make sure to communicate with my line manager first before he helps to regulate these things. Yes.
Yeah, that's completely true. Just having that line open. And Ari, did you have to deal with anything similar or any suggestions?
No, I think the most difficult part of the lockdown back in February, March, April, around, it was like being here with my son and with all his homework and my job. That was hard because, well, actually, even though my son is a really good kid and he's already, well, he was already 10 years old in that time, and he didn't need me behind him like pushing him to do the homework, but I needed to check his homework and to check that he was doing everything right, and to give him some activities to do the whole day, because before he was at school, then at football, then so he was out from 7 in the morning to 8 p.m. So what we can do here in this room the whole day. So that was the hardest part, but we could do it. And in the other hand, I've got a reduction of working hours too during the lockdown. It was really hard, but it was only for a month, luckily. So everything is going better right now.
Yeah, I think it's very difficult because if before in the office you could have a chat that may not be very difficult at the time because you meet your manager by the coffee machine. Um, Now you don't, so you have to schedule that Zoom call.
Yeah.
I know I'm not a speaker, but maybe I can chip in and just say, having frequent feedback sessions, like as if Oma was saying with your line manager, and maybe those around you, is useful because then maybe you can avoid that conversation being super awkward. There is a question that is repeated from two attendants, from Monica and Amir, about when you're working and your kitchen is the only place with a table and good internet, but you also have flatmates that you share it with, and they want to make food, they want to make tea. I'm in this situation right now. There is people behind me trying to eat, and I try to mute myself. And when you have to work like that with constant interruption, how do you manage it? So maybe Ari, that sounds similar to maybe your working situation.
Well, actually, it's kind of my situation, but it's not the same situation because my roommate and I, we are really like, they are in their space, we are in our space, and we only meet each other at the kitchen. And so I don't have that kind of distraction, but it is true if they are this is not a big flat, okay, but if they are talking around and I am in a meeting, it is true I have to ask them to please, I don't know, speak lower because I'm in a meeting, but they are the same because they are always with video calls too, and maybe I am disturbing their calls. So we need to find like a balance between them, between us. I'm sorry. I cannot close my door because I have a cat that is crazy and he doesn't let me to close the door, but they close the door. So yeah, they're in their space. We are here. And I don't know, I think in that case, we need to communicate each other and to help us each other because we are in the same flat, and we need good relationship inside that apartment. So we need to help each other, and that's it. Like please, if I am a meeting, please don't talk too loud or don't talk to me right now, and the same in the opposite way.
Yeah, it's really awkward. If is it something that you had to deal with as well,
Yeah.
or
Yes, it's something I can relate to very much because I live with my family. So, and I use the dining table as my workspace. I don't have a relegated work. I just use the dining table as my workspace. It's where I have my meetings. It's where I work. So I always have to let them know. I say when I'm here, please, nobody should disturb me. Nobody should, the noise coming from the living room, the noise from the TV, and it can be upsetting. It can be upsetting. And, staying with a family, sometimes your family wouldn't understand what it is, working from home, working remotely. They don't understand that concept. So you are working with your laptop in front of you and they don't really understand what it is. They don't really understand how important it is, how important what you're doing is, or how any little noise could just distract you. So there are times I would be sitting and working in front of my laptop, and then my mom would come to meet me with asking me for help or asking me to do something. And like, I am working, and I'm not saying anything, or that I am not staying or like typing furiously or typing fast does not mean I'm not working. So me just sitting there and looking in front of my, it means I'm working. So I always have to remind them whenever I have meetings. I always have to tell them I'm having a meeting, and please don't do this, don't make noise, or please nobody should call my attention also. So I always have to remind them. It's a constant thing. This can be, I will admit, it can be difficult when you are staying with people. It can be, especially when you're staying with family or you're staying with more than two people, it can be difficult communicating with them or them understanding. So I try to always telling them that this is what I do and this is how important it is to me. So that's the only way I have to do with it. I can't force them to sit down, or I can't force them to not do what they want to do. So the only thing I do is by telling them, I'm having this meeting and I'm working, please do not distract me. So that's the only way I have to deal with it. It's just what we have to deal with. It's something we have to deal with.
Yeah, sounds like clear communication and maybe a clear sign to those around you, like maybe a schedule. I have an important call at this time, please. I know it's awkward that we're in the same space, but please do not disturb.
Yes, respect.
We only have time. We only have 2 minutes left. So I have two quick questions. Oh, apparently my internet is unstable. Hopefully it works. From Louise. So these are super quick. So maybe yes, no. Louise is asking, when the lockdown is over, when pandemic is over, hopefully in not so distant future, would you consider working from places like coffee shop or co-working space, something that isn't your office space? So Ifoma, if you want to give a quick answer, what do you think?
Yes, I would highly recommend that. It's sometimes changing your environment is very important. You'll be amazed how just changing your environment would help in your productivity. It's something I had to indulge in. Sometimes I work with, luckily for me, I have a coffee shop not too far from my place. So I tried to go there. I went there, the last time I went there was about 3 weeks ago. I went there with a friend. So just having someone, also sometimes having someone around helps, but just changing your environment can be, working from a coffee shop is also, it helps.
And Ari, briefly, is that something you'd do?
Someday, maybe, yeah, someday.
It's an option. It's good to have options.
Yeah.
And yeah, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. It's good to have options.
Yeah. There is just one question. You'll see it in the chat as well. So feel free to elaborate more in the chat, but we'll keep it brief now because Teresa is looking at me with the next Kahoot. So right now, maybe especially in countries in Northern Europe, in Ireland, our sun rises at 9, sets at 4. It gets super dark super quickly.
Okay.
You don't get any much daylight. It affects people, especially if you're working in one space all the time. It's dark. Maybe briefly, is it something? Would you consider talking to your management about changing your working hours? Maybe you would work different schedule, or would you consider part-time work? If there is anything that jumps to your mind, Ari, do you want to give your thought?
I haven't thought about that ever. So I mean that's a new thing that I haven't thought about it, and it's really hard. So I think part-time could be a really, really nice idea, or yeah, to change the schedules.
Yeah. And Ifoma, is that something that you have any experience?
No, it's not something I've experienced. It's not something I have experienced because so I don't mind. I see a question in the chat. I think it's from Amir. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Yeah, so I don't know. I do not know if he's working. Probably his employers are in a different time zone. Probably his employers are in a different time zone. I see his question. It's quite long. I'm trying to, but I think something that would be effective would be communicating to your colleagues or someone in charge. I think that would really help. Communication is very, very strong when working remotely. It helps a lot. Communicate. It's something that I worked on, or it's something it's a skill that I noticed that has helped, a skill of mine that has grown this period. So communicating would work. I think communicating with your colleagues or your manager about this would really help, so that they will be able to adjust the time schedule, something that works for you.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
I can quickly say, just before we close off, it's something that came up on our team. We work in Dublin. We have really lousy daytime. now. So we decided that maybe during lunchtime, people can go for a walk. So maybe it makes sense that the weather is nice. You can say to your team, I'm going for a walk. If more people do it, it normalizes the activity. Maybe you do longer hours in the evening, in the morning. You can set core working hours and take that break because it'll affect you in the long run. Um, I'll stop talking now because we're now 2 minutes over. So I'd like to say thanks to Ari and Ifoma and for joining us and sharing your experience. Please stay on and interact in the chat. Thanks, girls, and I'll give it back to
Thank you.
Teresa for the next Kahoot.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So this first panel has been very insightful on personal growth. Let me share my screen. You see my Kahoot now? Okay,
Yes.
we're moving to our second panel, which is related to job opportunities, career, and working relationships. So please go to kahoot.it and enter this game pin so that we can have an insight into what you think about basically job related questions, because the next panel is going to be more related. Instead of the personal panel that we had before, personal experiences, this is more related to career. So I'll let a few more seconds for you people to join. Okay, I'm gonna start it. Yeah, the number, because I see people still joining, the number is gonna appear on top. So I'm gonna start it so that we're not left behind with our schedule. So this one is gonna be about employment. Okay, so the first question is, do you feel that your working relationship, oops, can't see the question now, with your team has remained the same now that you work from home? So we've got, yes, it's the same or better, no, it feels more distant, or it's hard to tell, I don't know. Okay, so quite diverse options. So yeah, but it's the same or better win. So maybe we've had quite a little bit of practice now that we've been working from home. The next question is, do you think your career growth has slowed down or sped up since the lockdown? So for example, I'm progressing much faster now. I feel like I'm not moving as fast as I could before lockdown. I don't know, or it's about the same. It hasn't really changed anything working from home or working from the office. So it's about the same. Again, well, mixed, a variety of answers, but you feel like you've worked the same and in the office. Next question, would you like to go to work to a different country? Yes, no, I don't know. These are questions that will be related to our second panel, okay? Because we got Marina, who's worked abroad, and yes, most of you would go abroad if they had a chance. Okay. Would you like to be a freelancer? For this one, no, I've never thought about being a freelancer. Yes, but I don't know how. Yes, but I'm well informed, and I'm well informed, sorry. Or I already am a freelancer. And we've got a soldier here. Yes, but I don't know how. So, okay, Luis, this will be good for you because you're going to explain a lot of things about this. So yeah, remember the name, Luis. And the last question, would you rather go back to the office than keep full remote? No, I like it better at home, full remote. Yes, I would like to go to the office every day, or I would like to mix it 50-50 or something like that, a combination. But if you've got this computer from the picture, maybe difficult. Oh, okay. So yes, only one person wants to go back, and the rest full remote or a combination. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing now.
I lost my mute button. Teresa, are you there? Is my internet broken or
No, Teresa is broken.
Teresa is
We
broken?
can see and listen. My tune stop it set.
Okay, well, while Teresa fixes up her video and internet connection, I'll take her place and briefly introduce the second panel. Second panel, as Teresa mentioned, is focused on work. So, oh, she's back. 1 second now. I'll just get her back. She's
I
joining.
admit it.
Oh,
I
nice.
admit her.
Cool. Yeah, so it's focused on work and employment. So we have two perspectives. Marina giving her personal perspective of being a freelancer and what it's like. And then we have Louise sharing information on the world of freelancing. How do you become a part of it and what does it mean? So I'll hand it back over to Chris and Teresa. Is Teresa still joining?
Yes, I see.
Marina, I'm sending you an invite to unmute.
Hello, I'm unmute.
Hello. And Louise
I'm
as well.
mute now.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, Teresa is joining. Or we can start with the first question.
Yeah, we can start.
Okay. The first is about yourself. Maybe Marina could start. Tell us about yourself, please.
About myself, so I'm a UX engineer. That means I work on design and code on the website platform. I used to work for companies as an employee for 7 years in Spain and Finland. But 1 year ago, I moved. I started working as a contractor for IBM, and then I'm currently working as a contractor as well for Apple at the moment. And yeah, I'm going to speak about it. That's all. Nice to meet you.
Okay, we have a lot of questions about this, so it's interesting. Related to Luis, could you tell us about yourself, please?
Yes. Hello, everybody. Well, thanks to invite me. It's a pleasure to share with you. And yes, I'm Louise, I'm French, and I'm living in Spain for 5 years. And I'm leading the community of freelancer at Malt in Spain. And Malt is a European marketplace, which is connecting freelancer and companies. And now we are in Spain, in Germany, and in France, and we are more than 200K of freelancer. So I will be happy to share about it.
Nice.
Teresa is back. Are you?
Okay. Related with the next question is about how easy it is to find a full remote. This is for both, so maybe you could start, Luis.
Okay, I have it's not a presentation, but I have some data that can be interested. Can I share my screen and then I will.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, it's cool.
You should be able to.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Boom, boom. Let's see. I don't know why it's not working that. Oh, sorry. Or maybe Marina, if you if you want to start when I'm
Yeah,
doing it.
sure.
Sorry.
So no problem. So the question is, how is to find full remote job? I think a lot of companies have had to switch to remote work, and I just think that they don't plan to come back in the office anytime soon. So it will be easier than ever to find remote work companies. There are so many websites for it. Lisa's companies works on it, and also in some companies, example, remote work depends on internal policies, but also on team policies. So it really depends on which team you're working for. But as a contractor, I think it makes everything easier to just eh, invoice companies anywhere in the world. So you don't need to work only for Spanish companies, and that also opens the door for a way more bigger and international market. So I think if you're interested in remote work, these days are the most interesting ones for to go for it. Yeah, let's give a try to it. What do you think, Lisa?
Oh, Louise, you're on mute. 1 second. This should not have happened.
We see your screen, but
You
can't
cannot
hear
hear
you.
you.
Yeah. I've sent you the thing.
Yeah, you must give me the right. Okay, yeah,
Awesome.
so I totally agree. Like in this time, it's it's more easy to find full-time remote work, and actually, if you are working as a freelancer, it's more easier no to get full-time remote. And like in the company we are seeing in Spain, in the last past 2 months, most of the company are looking for a freelancer for full-time project, full-time mission, and for long mission as well. And before it was not the case. There were big companies were against to do remote work, including working with freelancer in Spain. And with this situation, we are seeing they are looking for full-time remote. And I would like to share some interesting data. Actually, we didn't publish it officially, but it was interesting to share with you tonight. It's a study we've done with BCG, Boston Group Consulting, about the situation of freelancer with all the COVID situation, where the freelancer and what their expectations so on. And here we can see that before the situation, freelancer used to work remotely, and 65% of the survey we've done are used to work as a full-time remote. So I think it's easy. It's easier now, but as a freelancer, it's something common, no, to work remotely.
I agree.
Okay, and Luis, do you happen to know the country that has the largest amount of full remote workers?
Well, let's see here. I have also this data from the survey we've done, and because we are based in Germany and Spain and in France, it's super interesting to see that it's in Spain. We were actually surprised because we didn't think that it was in Spain that people are not used to work remotely. And in Spain, in Germany, and France, and we are seeing that in Spain, friends are used to work remotely, but in general, in all over the world, I don't know which is a country where there are most people working from home. I would like to say in the north of Europe, maybe if we are talking of Europe, or in the United States. I don't know. But here, yeah, this kind of data were interesting. I'm sorry, and this one too, because if we are seeing that people are working remotely, they are still based close from the big cities where there is all the business. No, for example, in France, they are living in Paris. In Spain, they are living in Barcelona and Madrid. In Germany, they are living in Munich or Berlin. Still, they are working from home, but closed from their clients or where their business is. No.
That's interesting. Yeah, and from like the data, well, I don't have data. I just know people like my friends in Finland that they're freelancers, and they used to, like before COVID, they used to go a lot into the clients' offices, even if they are freelancers, and that's something that is, I agree with Elisa, that it's not very common in Spain. Like usually freelancers are kind of like outsiders of the company, and that's something that changed in other countries in Europe, and it's true. It's something interesting to see. Yeah.
It's very interesting to see the difference among countries. And talking about countries, Maria, you moved back to Spain to work here. So can you tell us more about the process, Marina?
Well, my process to come back to Spain was pretty easy because I'm Spanish. So like in legal terms and fiscal terms and everything was pretty easy. But if you mean like why I moved from Finland to Spain, it's because I finished my studies. I spent some time working there, and I just, after a while, I just decided the quality of my life in Spain was much better than in Finland. And it's true that salaries as a Finnish employee that I was at the moment are higher than like salaries of Spanish employees. But well, at that moment, I was not very interested in how much I was making. I would prefer to live in a place where I was truly wanting to live than just because of the economic situation of the country. That's why I moved back to Spain. I'm happy that I did. Do you have any specific question about it?
Yes, we have it. Why do you prefer Spain? But more or less you say no.
I prefer. I think the quality of life in Spain is better, and by this I mean social life and rights, healthcare, safety, public services, culture, quality of food, affordable prices, water and sunlight, social inclusion, and for me also like having my family near, even though I don't live in the same city as them, that is also very important for me. And a good point to know is that traveling anywhere from Spain to anywhere in the world before COVID, at least it was super cheap, way cheaper than any other countries in Europe. And yeah, for travel addicts as me, it's great. I'm not saying that Finland is bad at all. I studied there. They have amazing, well, and I also worked there for a long time. They have amazing public services as education. For example, I study in Helsinki and it's free, and they even pay you for that. And it's something very different from what we experience in Spain, right? And but the economy, air quality, safety is really good. But they have really big problems with socialization, and well, it's something that I didn't want to deal with. Weather and sunlight are very extreme and doesn't help on the socialization issues that they have. And yeah, that's the biggest issues why I left Finland. But I think it's a really good experience to live outside the country where you have been born. And I think it's kind of like a life experience. You realize those things that are different in other countries, and you think that this will be always like that, but it's not. And yeah, this is why I prefer to live in Spain than in Finland, even though like I still have so many friends and so many good memories of it there. I hope
Okay.
to travel with COVID is very difficult.
I totally agree with you because I like travel too, so I really miss. So maybe the next year we can do it again.
Maybe next year.
Okay, next question is about give some tips or suggestion to start looking for a full remote position. You said something related to some platform, so maybe you can go there with it and then continue with this.
And so you mean me about the platforms? So I think the biggest suggestion I will say is that well, there are a bunch of websites and really good ones, as for example, Luisa companies where they just connect you with other companies that they're looking for contractors or freelancers, and they just put you in contact. But for me, what has been most helpful is to have a professional brand. So companies contact you instead of you have to find those companies. So it's kind of like trying to find a reverse connection where, yeah, companies are the ones that are looking for you instead of you looking for those companies. And you can build your own professional brand. Just join a blog. I get a lot of reviews for my blog, even though it's really small. Giving talks, maybe presence, like for example, giving these kind of talks in these events, and yeah, but there's a lot of ways, and for me, is what I have been working better.
Okay, so Luis, maybe.
Yeah. Well, yes. So if you are looking for a full-time remote position, I guess you must start to see if you can work as a freelancer, because maybe after a pandemic, well, we will go back to the office. I don't know if things will change as we expect when it will be all over, and also all the if you are working in tech, it's easier also to find a full-time remote work. And saying, yeah, Marina, you must have a great personal brand, great contact also to shine now, and to get clients. And you have the option of the marketplace. There is a lot. You have global marketplace, you have local marketplace, you have for specific work. You have, if you are a developer, if you are creative, if you are a consultant, for example, with different way to work. And most of them are not exclusive. It means like you can be in several. And one of the best channel it's LinkedIn also, for to get mission, to get a new job. And I will recommend, maybe if you are not so comfortable to start as a freelancer and you are looking for remote work, to check the best place to work. There is a list of all these companies, and they are open to remote work. I was saying today, if you are interested to work at Twitter, like the CEO of Twitter was saying, all the employees will work full remote forever if they want. I don't know if you saw that, or there's like big companies right now, they are just saying that now.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a few places that we can look into, as you said. Probably the main one, LinkedIn, but for full remote, we will have to look in other places. And what do you think that a person needs to work full remote. So what is basic to work full remote? Maybe Luis, you can start.
Okay, I think in the first panel they told about some tips about the people that they need now to work full time remote. I would say it's super important to have a routine, as I said, and to be organized, to be like autonomous, to have some rigor, no, and in your job and your daily job. And something also I think it's super important, it's something I saw in my job, it's the communication skills, to communicate in the right way, how to communicate with your team, with your clients. And I think it's super important. And now we are not super used to all communicate through Zoom, through I don't know, new tool, and we must to know how to use it too.
What do you think, Marina? What is it?
I agree. I agree with everything that Luis has said, and I think it's also important if you're going to be a contractor or a freelancer. It's important that you have experience on what you are doing. I think if you're starting as a junior, it's better to work as an employee and being closer to the company or your coworkers as much as possible, because you will have that kind of like support and learning experience from them. And but as a contractor or as a freelancer, you can have like a more seniority and independent in the way that you just don't need all that support all the time. That's why I always recommend freelancers to become professionals to become freelancers or contractors when they are kind of like in a seniority state of their career. Also, for being contractors, important to have savings, because many companies, they pay, for example, at 45 net. That means that once that you invoice them, they will pay you 45 days after. This is very normal in the US, or even longer times. So it's important to know this. This will not be a problem, but is something to have in mind, that you have to have savings at least when starting. So this is not a problem for you. And of course, in Spain, if you want to work for international companies and other markets outside in the Spanish-speaking countries, you need a good level of English. And this is like taken for granted in countries as Finland, for example, where everyone just speak really good English. I learned English in Finland, but this is something really important here in Spain, where not everyone has that really good level of English. And yeah, this really, those are my advice on top of the Lisa's ones that were really good as well.
Okay, yeah, all the things you said are really important to bear in mind, and it's good that you can share your experiences with all of us. So moving on to the next one, regarding career progression. Okay, so how does your career progression change, and how do you maintain the relationship with the team when you're working from home? For example, Marina?
To me or to Luisa?
Yeah, you can start, Marina, please.
Okay, so my career progression change was about that being a contractor opens you to doors to work for any company in the world. Like Lisa mentioned it before, this internationalization of working for like any other country. And yeah, since you are a self-employed person, you can just invoice in the company regardless of the country, and this is a huge step to become international into the international market. And my relationship with my team, so I work for San Francisco. Well, I work for Apple in Cupertino, that's in California, and I do a overlapping of 2 hours, and at 6 p.m. in Spain is 9 a.m. in San Francisco. So I have to work until 8 p.m. to have like at least 2 hours of overlapping with California. Also, I start working later because of that. But that's my way of communication with them. Like all my meetings are from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. This is interesting because it also helps me to just have all my meetings like all together in the evenings, and I just have time for the rest of the day to work on coding. And yeah, for me it works really well. My productivity has been increasing a lot since I don't have meetings through the day, only in the evenings.
Okay, and anything to add on top of that, Luis, about maintaining the relationship with the team?
Well, from my side at Malt, we are used to work remotely before the pandemic situation, like, but just 1 or 2 days per week, not just the whole week. And the thing who changed it was because we are a global company, as we are in Germany, in France, and in Spain. But still, we are normally we are working on our local issue. And thanks to this situation, we are more open internationally, and it's super interesting because I meet new people thanks to that, with new meeting. Like we are not so much, we are 200 in total in the company, but still they are in other countries, you don't know the new people. And thanks to that, well, we organize new meeting, we are working on transversal projects, and I feel more international now thanks to that. And the way we are working is through tools like Slack, Zoom, and chatting and so on. And I will recommend things which are working also. It's like to phone more people, like or just to do some Zoom and less Slack, because chatting is so noisy. No, I don't know if you have this feeling of the Slack notification every 2 minutes to answer to people. And well, it's to learn a little bit how to use this kind of tool, and to be and to not to be afraid to just make a quick call to someone. And it's better, because something I miss with this situation, it's the relationship with my colleague, and all the team spirit. I don't find the way how we can have and create this team spirit, like with your colleagues, to go to lunch with them, and to go to drink drink some beers at the end of the day, no? And yeah, I miss a little bit this right now.
Okay, so go to the last question, I think, at least from site. Then we have the question from audience. What are the up and downsides of being a freelancer?
Okay,
you could start.
myself.
Yes, Marina. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
So, well, the app site is just choose where to work and how, and then having the freedom to work for international companies we mentioned before, charge them based on their market, and this means many times a higher revenue depending on the country and the company you are working for. And also something I used to like a lot, it was the work trips. I used to travel to the US a lot because of work, and it's something I'm not doing anymore. But that's something for me that was really cool as well. And also there's downsides, and for example, that I don't have public holidays in Spain, and also I don't have like public holidays in the US. I could take some days off. But for example, next week is Thanksgiving, and my team in the US will not be working, but the rest of my team in Europe, yeah, it's a bit confusing. But then also there's another more downsides, that is like not getting the sense of a team as you might get as an employee. This is of course talking about if you're a freelancer. And I also end up working for more hours just because the COVID times, and it's difficult to stop working, and also it's difficult to take vacations when you don't have paid vacations, because you are like, okay, I can just work these days, I will just charge them for my work, and you end up like not taking vacations because also you don't have anywhere to go on vacations. So it's just I end up working more hours. And the schedule with California, for example, if you're working for faraway markets, are difficult because I mentioned I have to work from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. That's something that for many people in Spain maybe it's a problem, and I understand it because well, it's not the usual schedule in Spain, right? But also getting paid 45 days after should not be a problem, but it's just annoying. It feels like you are not part of the company as an employee, right? That just get paid from the end of the month. And also I spend time on accounting that I didn't have to spend time before as an employee. Like I have to invoice my clients, even though I have help from my accountant, but still, if I want to have like a active solution to my accounting, because I'm the ultimate responsible of it, and I just end up like spending time on it. It's not much, and it's like at the beginning, it's like a math, well, way more because you are learning, but it just takes some time through the month on it. And something that before I just had a whole department company that was doing that, right? The HR department, but now it's myself because I'm the responsible of it. Yeah, and those are my ups and downs for me. Like in the ups, yeah, are better than the downs. So I really like this way of working as a freelancer contractor, and I recommend you to at least try it out.
Cool. Well, it's because I'm not freelancer, but we are doing every year a study about the situation of freelancer, and the great side of being freelancer. It's always like to be autonomous, to be free at the end, to choose your clients and to choose your when you want to work if you can, and all this freedom, it's like you can have some downsides, but the freedom like is it's compensating, no, like the bad side. And yes, for from this kind of reports we've done, we are seeing that the freelancer also it's sometimes they're afraid of the instability of being freelancer, because maybe tomorrow the client is saying to you, well, it's the end of the mission and we cannot pay you, and so on. And also all the legal part, it depends of where you are working. But in Spain it's it can be complicated, and all the part like to be entrepreneurs, and it's not economic to be freelancer in Spain. Depends of the country you are, but you must to be prepared. You know, you must you must to have some savings to start as a freelancer. And yeah, maybe the feeling to be lonely now when you it can be said like to work alone, to you don't have a team, you cannot share like if you have a bad day, you have nobody to say, to like, I don't know, to talk about a mission or client, or to get some help from a colleague. And it can be hard sometimes, but thanks to communities as a women who code, or front-end foxes, you can get some help now. And I think you are doing a great job to do this kind of event and meeting.
What you've described is basically what we all are feeling in our homes. Is like, okay, we're in an event, but there's no feedback coming from the audience, so I'm just gonna talk to the camera and let's hope for the best.
Yeah.
So Irene, should we go to the questions from the attendees? Okay.
Yeah, so there is a few, and some have potentially been answered. So there was a question from Yana about where do you look for this work? Because LinkedIn was mentioned, but it does seem to kind of lack specific remote work. Vicky said that she has some information with some links that she will send out in the newsletter. It's probably something easier to type into the chat, maybe. Both Louise, Marina, if you have any ideas so that people can have a look. So that's one question. There was another question, which may not have been answered, was would you recommend freelancing for somebody who's just starting out in the sector? So I think, Marina, you touched on that in your response.
Yeah, I mentioned that I don't recommend freelancing at the beginning, and just because I think that when you're starting, what you need is to learn, and I think you have more opportunities of learning in a company when you are an employee and you have like seniors and coworkers that are like helping you all the time. But it's true that it really depends on the company, it depends on the person, it depends on the situation. Like I can give you this advice, but it doesn't mean that if you're starting and you want to try out to be a freelancer, you should not be. I mean, also the risk of starting as a freelancer is very low. Like at least in Spain, you only pay like 60 euros per month through the first 1 year, which is like nothing. So, and you can set yourself as a freelancer like in couple of minutes, just filling a form. So it's like really easy to start. The risk is very low. And if you want to just try it out and you are a junior, you should go for it. Like you are not losing anything for trying it out. But I just recommend what I have seen is that it's maybe it's better to start as an employee in a company where the environment can be better for you as a junior.
Louise, maybe from your experience or from Malt as a platform, is there anything you can share on that?
You can. I agree with Marina, because it's not easy. You must be prepared to be a freelancer. You must have some contact also. You must have some customer maybe, because it's hard to have a recurrent mission, a recurrent income when you are starting, or you have savings, and well, maybe you can start, but it's something you must know. And also, it can be great if you can like to do a mix to get, and we have a lot of freelancer on Malt, because we're doing that, because you are not so prepared, you don't know if you can do it or not. So most of them are doing some extra mission, part of their job. So they are employees, but most of them are developers actually. It's like a passion job, and they after work they are doing some project to learn, because sometimes you can be stuck when you are working the same companies during 1 or 2 years, because you are doing the same job and you are not learning some new technologies. I don't know, I'm not an expert in development and in languages and so on, but you must learn by yourself, or be part, for example, of communities and so on. But maybe you can start some mini mission, small mission, to enter step by step in the freelancer world, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's good feedback. One question related to when you need to set up as a freelancer, do you need to set up as yourself as a company, or we have Louise, Marina, we have you from maybe giving perspective from both Spain, maybe Louise, you know about France, Germany as well.
I'm not. No, it depends. In France also, it's not you don't have to be a company. Like it depends of the juridic model of your of where you are working. I guess I don't know, Marina, if you are doing the autonomous thing in Spain, or you have all the company in other countries, because sometimes you can also.
Yeah, I'm autonomous in Spain, and yeah, the options you have in Spain is setting yourself as autonomous. Actually, as an individual person, it's very risky to create your own company in Spain, because it can be treated as a way of paying less taxes, because you will be paying corporate taxes instead of personal income taxes, and this is very, like, Spanish tax office will go after you. So it's kind of like risky if you're only one person creating one company. So the safer way of not getting in trouble into the fiscal way is just setting yourself as a self-employed person in Spain that is called autonomo. And this is very easy process. Is the risk of it I mentioned before is really low, and you can set yourself one day. You only need a certificado digital, and everything else you can do it online. And then it just you need to learn the process. You can also get help from accountants services, but it's not difficult. And the social security that you pay in Spain the first year is only 60 euros per month. And after that first year, then it increased up to 250 after 2 years. And that's your social security. Then you pay a IRPF on top of that. That's personal income taxes. But you pay as an employee also, you pay personal income taxes, so it's the same. So I recommend always people to start as an autonomous, and because setting yourself as a company is kind of risky, and it's very, tax offices can have so you can have some problems with them. I have been there, like I have been researching about this for for a long time in terms of like what is the best option for taxes and stuff, and I just continue as an autonomous because of it. As a certificate, I like taxes, and so if you have any question about it, you can ask me. At least I know about Spain. I don't know any other countries, maybe some of Finland, but no, not really.
Yeah, I can say
Yeah.
that in Ireland, you probably need to set up as self-employed as well, if anybody's here. And then it comes also with various taxes, and your eligibility for benefits, etc., could change.
Same here. Yep.
Cool. So I think that's all the questions from the audience, unless there is anything else, shout in the chat. Alternatively, I'm going to hand back to Chris and Teresa.
I have a couple of links for websites that are places where you can just find remote works. So I just post them on the chat. And of course, Malt from Louis' company is one of them. Okay, it will be included on that chat. So if you want to add it as well. And but yeah, they are like similar websites where you can just find freelance or contractors marketplaces.
Okay, thank you. So I think that we can conclude the second panel. Obviously, thank you, Luis and Marina, for all your answers and give all this information, because it's important to thread at least this kind of question. And now I will share my screen a little bit, and we can close. I think that this one. Could you share? Could you see my screen? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay, I put here the link to our feedback form. We really appreciate your comments, and we will take into account. Now it's time to give thanks and close this amazing event. Thanks to the speakers, because I really enjoy this event and the topics that we thread in it. Well, see you soon. Stay tuned for the next events on Twitter, on our newsletter. And I think it's all from our side. Thank you and bye.
Thanks. We'll stay open so that I've pasted the link there so you can get that.
Okay.
And
Can
hang out for
I
any other
share a
questions.
link as well for the audience?
Yes,
Sure.
of course.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's an article I wrote about the topic.
I'll let participants to unmute as well, in case if there's any questions that I didn't cover.
I'm going to also put on the chat my email if anyone has any questions about how to set yourself as autonomy in Spain, or like taxes questions. You can just email me and I will try to help you with that. Yeah, I think that's all for me.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll gather the links and stuff like that. And anyone who's RSVP'd on the event page and meetup, you'll get a message from us and you'll have all the links there, including I think there's some of there's some of the remote job kind of sites, kind of some of the ones that was listed just there. I have that can overlap some of mine as well, but yeah, we definitely will share those as well as the survey links.
So I'm going to have dinner. Have a nice night.
Good
Good
chat.
night,
Thanks for
everyone.
joining.
Thanks for you for inviting me. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
We'll stay for a bit longer to make sure people get the feedback link, and we'll then drop off. Thanks again, everybody, for coming. Just Monica left.
Okay, I'm gonna leave as well, right?
Yeah, I think we're good to go.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, girls. I'll
Bye.
see you on
Thank
Slack.
you.
Bye. Thanks, Vicky, for recording.
I'm still recording. I should really shut off the record.
For everything.
Thanks.